Welcome and namaste. My name is Dena and this video is called Love Your Low Back. I'm sharing a piece of a study with you today from the Boston Medical Center that showed very promising results for using yoga to relieve some low back discomfort. This is the fourth segment in the study, so it puts together the first three segments of the study. You will need a few things today. If you have them, a blanket might be helpful, perhaps a strap if you have a yoga strap, or a belt, or the belt that you use to tie around your bathrobe. All of those could be used. Or if you don't have any of it, it's not a problem. You can still go through this whole practice with me. Always check in with yourself. Make sure that everything that we're doing on the mat feels comfortable in your body, and anything that doesn't feel good for you, then you should come out of it and do something that feels better for your body. This segment in the study, the theme was that we're all in this together. So yoga does teach us that we're all one, that there's the connection within ourselves, there's connection between everybody, that there is both suffering and joy in our lives and other people's lives and within our body, and it all makes us what we are, and it all makes the world go around. So recognize that if you are in a state right now where there is some discomfort in your body, know that, accept it, and witness it. And then also tune in to places where you're not feeling pain and parts of your body that are actually working very well for you and serving you, keeping things in perspective. Also know that the pain does tend to come and go, and hopefully by the end of this practice, there'll be a little less pain in your low back. If you're not having issues with your low back, you can still use this practice. It's a very nice and gentle practice. You can add on elements, you can take things away, do whatever serves you. So you should get your props if you happen to have the blanket or the strap. If you don't, that's fine, but we'll get on the mats. So we'll start with some breath work. This is an important part of this particular study. They started with lying down, doing the breath work from a lying down position, knees bent. And today in this video, we'll do extending the inhale. Bend your knees, lie on your back, and get comfortable. Place your arms anywhere that feels good for you. Relax your shoulders. And now begins yoga. Tune in to your natural inhale and exhale. And start to feel especially that rise of the inhale, the shape shift in the torso of the inhale. You're welcome to either count or just feel the sensation on your next breath in. Can you breathe in a little bit more? And on the breath out, let go, release. And then come back to natural breathing. On the next inhale, can you inhale just a little bit more? Release on the exhale. And you can have a natural breath in between or keep going with a little bit of a longer inhale, trying to breathe into the rib cage. Release on an exhale. So maybe a little bit of a quieter low belly and more expansion in the rib cage on your next inhale. Exhale. Another inhale. And exhale. We'll do one or two more of these extended inhales. The inhale is a more activating breath, more energizing breath. And whenever you approach your final exhale, let's release this breath work. Coming up, you can roll over. Actually, we'll stay on our backs, so don't roll over yet. Let's just stay on our backs. Open your eyes maybe a little bit. You can wiggle fingers or toes. Just start to wake up a little bit. And we'll get into the warm-ups for the practice. The first warm-up is hugging your knees into the chest. Let's do one knee at a time, so either knee. Just hug that knee into the chest as much as you want. Step the foot down carefully and hug the other one in. Pay attention to what sensations you feel, especially in the low back, since this is a very specific type of practice. Keep bringing your attention, your witness, back to the low back, non-judgment, knowing that it may be causing you some pain right now, but you're taking care of it. You can add in breath. A nice breath would be to breathe out as you hug the knee in, and a breath in as you step the foot down. Or just nice natural breathing. You can keep going with the one knee in, or the next time a knee is in, hold it there and step the other foot up and hug both knees into the chest. You can stay here for a few breaths, or you can add in just a little bit of movement, straightening the arms, releasing the knees gently away from the torso, and then hugging the knees in again. The inhale would straighten the arms, keep the hands on the knees somewhere. The exhale would hug it back in, or just stay right where you are. A few more of these breaths. This is a lovely, safe, really nice way to stretch out that whole low back. So keep your focus on that spot in your body. These two exercises are so nice to do even before you get out of bed. Just take you a minute or two. Okay, next time that you're on an inhale and releasing the knees away, how about we step the foot down, one foot down, the other foot down. We'll come into twist, step the feet together, knees together, arms to the side. Palms can be up to feel more open, or palms can be down to feel a little more grounded. Release the knees to one side, head can stay straight or turn away. Knees come back up and go to the other side. So a gentle twist. You can combine with breath in a way that feels nice for you. So often in yoga, we come into a twist on a breath out and come out on the breath in. So if you breathe out as the knees drop to one side, breathe in as the knees come over, see what that's like for you. It slows down the twist a little bit. Feel the sensations again, wherever you're experiencing them. If you happen to remember where you started, go to the opposite side to balance out. If you don't remember, don't worry, and we'll come back up. Okay, so now we'll come on up. Roll all the way over. The arm can lift overhead if you'd like. Put your other hand on the mat and walk yourself up. We're going to come to the variation of table balance. So if you could find your tabletop pose, table pose with your wrists underneath your shoulders, fan out your fingers. You could also be up on fists with the thumb pointed straight forward here if wrists are a little tired today. So fingers are gently spread away from each other, ground through the fingertips, also through the roots of the fingers, the finger pads, a little less weight on the wrist. So you want to distribute that weight through your entire hand, especially the roots of the fingers and through the fingertips. Knees underneath your hips. And strong arms. So stay with these strong arms, slightly pushing the floor away from you, not a rounding in your back, but just the strength. And reach one leg behind you, curl the toes under and stay there. There's another variation of table balance. You can do that, but in the study, this is what's suggested, to stay here and breathe. Strong arms, stacked bones. The front body is slightly pulling in and up, so there's some sensation in the front body to stabilize you. And the back leg, there's also some sensations in that back straight leg. Find the breath. And then let's come back to tabletop. We'll do the other side. You can take a break if you need to circle your wrists. Reach out your other foot behind you, curl the toes under, stay here, press into the ground. Press your fingertips into the mat. Feel the L of your finger grounded, the index root pad, the thumb pad. Push that mat away from you slightly. Head on top of the spine. Don't let it drop down. Front of the body, the abdomen is slightly pulled up, in and up. Strong back leg. Find your breath. Okay, then please come out into table, and you probably need to do little circles with your wrists. So relax your wrists, circle them out a little bit. The next pose is the big toe pose. If you have the strap, we'll use the strap for this one. So find your strap, lie down. If you don't, you'll put your hands behind your thigh, Lie back down, step into the strap. You can put the strap in the arch of the foot. You can put the strap around the toe mounds of the foot. Face the inner wrist towards you or towards the wall behind you to stay open in the collarbones. Shoulders stay grounded and the lifted leg is straight. If it's not straight right now, just slide your hands down the strap a little bit. That will release the foot away from the torso, not out to the side, just straight down. Or if you're not getting the sensation you want, walk the hands up the strap a little bit. The lifted foot is level. So you can draw that pinky toe away from your big toe mound. Have an active foot. Breathe and feel the sensation down the back of the lifted leg. So for some bodies, the tension in the back of the legs does contribute to some of the low back discomfort. Using the breath and awareness to start to open up the back leg area. Finding places where you can find a little bit more ease, relaxing the jaw, maybe even relaxing the grip that you have on the belt. You do have to hold on, but you don't have to overdo that. All right, let's do the other side. So just step the other foot straight in, release the lifted leg. So now we're on the opposite side. Opposite knee is bent. Same thing here. So be curious what's going on in the back of this leg. Is it the same or a little different? Usually there is a difference. Facing the inner wrist towards you. A little bit of an outer spiral in the arms. Ground through the shoulders. The lifted foot is level and the lifted leg is straight without locking out that lifted knee. Feeling all the sensations through the back of the leg where you experience it. So you do want sensations in yoga. You do want to feel things. What you want to pay attention to is that there's no sharp pains, especially in any kind of joints. That would be your body saying you to ease up. One more breath in and out. Okay, so let's come out of this pose. You may or may not need your strap later on. So have it nearby, roll over to your side again, put your hand down and use that weight of strength of your hands to walk yourself up. And we're gonna come straight up. So however you like to stand up, you can tip back and stand up. You can step a foot forward, hand on a knee and stand up, however you like to stand up. We'll start in mountain pose. So please begin with your feet hip distance apart from each other. Ground through your feet. So you really want to feel your feet underneath you. There's pressure points we want to feel. Sometimes we call it the tripod. The tripod is the middle of the heel, so feel the middle of your heel. The big toe mound, the pinky toe mound. If you lift your 10 toes, you can usually access the toe mounds more if this is new to you. When the toes are lifted, you can feel a lift in the arch. You want that stability. You don't want to drop into the inner arches. So keeping all of that, release the toes down, stay strong in the feet and strong in the legs. So the legs are engaged, the muscles are hugging into the bones, the crown of the head is lifted. Oh, everything's stacked. So we have a nice ear is stacked on top of shoulder, which is on top of hip. Knee and ankle. It's hard to know unless you take a look at yourself at some point, do mountain pose in front of a mirror, take a picture without judgment. Just let that be some information. How is your posture? Because compromised posture from modern living contributes a lot to our low back discomfort. You can place the hands in front of your heart. We're just going to hold this pose for a few breaths, remembering the intention here that we're all one. The union of body, mind, spirit, the union of all the different parts of ourselves that make us whole, and the union we have with all beings everywhere. So this next pose is still considered the warm-up. It's the last part of the warm-up. You'll place your hands behind you, roll the shoulders back, drop the shoulders away from the ears, and see if you squeeze the shoulder blades together with your arms behind you, can you interlace your fingers? I'm just turning around so you can see. And if you can, stay there. Stay there as you press down with your fingers, squeeze the shoulder blades together, And even pull, try to pull your hands apart without actually pulling them apart. And if that isn't working out for you, this is when you would have the strap. So hold the strap with the wrists, inner wrists forward behind you. And you pull your hands apart to squeeze the shoulder blades together, taking a couple breaths. Still engaged legs, still crown of the head lifted. Everything's still stacked. Have a little bit of sensation in the front body pulling in and up. And release. Okay, so now let's move into the yoga postures. We have several yoga postures to do. One is chair pose. So the way they do chair pose is a little bit different than when I normally do it, but I think it does help your low back a little more. Stand in your mountain. So feet are underneath your hips. Feel the tripod of your feet. You will feel more sensation in the heels when you come into chair. Arms come to your side, palms in. And now bend the knees, shift the hips back slightly, but keep the low back long by aiming your tailbone down or a little bit of a tailbone tuck. So you won't bend the knees very much. Feel the breath in and out. Feel that sensation in the low back. Pull the belly in and up. That gives some stability to the low back. You don't overdo that sensation, but there is some sensation there. And release. Okay. So hopefully you're starting to feel some energy there, some stretching there. Warrior One is the next pose. Warrior One gives a lot of people problems in their back, and sometimes it's because of their stance and their feet or how they get into the pose. So let's really break this down. Stand into Tadasana, the mountain pose. So your feet are hip distance at least apart from each other. Your knees are pointed straight forward. And imagine you are on two parallel lines. Sometimes it's described like railroad tracks. And the feet stay on these lines. They don't step off of the line at all. Choose a leg and you'll step that leg back and keep it on that same line and turn the toes out just a little bit. And you can take a pretty big step back. So, you have to explore how far you want to go. When you do it this way with your legs wider, your feet wider, if you're on a mat right now and you're facing the short border of your mat, you could have one foot all the way to the one edge and the back foot to the opposite edge. That's how wide you can be. The hips, they can stay at a diagonal. So a lot of times that's what helps in the pose, is keeping the hips on a diagonal and then pushing into the outer back heel and drawing energy all the way up the back leg. That back leg, the muscles are really hugging the bone of the back leg, and you squeeze the glute too. So all of that anchors you into the pose. Hips are at a slight diagonal, and then your ribs and your shoulders, they turn towards the short border of the mat or turn forward. Front leg is still straight. Take an inhale, lift the arms overhead, or the arms could come to prayer if you'd rather. And then exhale, bend the front knee towards the front center foot, but still staying grounded in the back leg. That's really an important part, is the anchor back there. That back thigh is strong and lifted. The front knee doesn't have to be bent very far. If you want to bend further, that's fine. Just step the back foot back a little more. And then staying here, reaching through the pinky side of your fingers if the arms are lifted. Try to find another breath or two. If the low back is still has discomfort, you can do what we did in chair. Point your tailbone down a little bit and try to get some length in the low back. It's a different way of experiencing Warrior One, but you might like that better. A more neutral pelvis. Release the arms, step the back foot forward. It's an interesting pose. There's a lot going on in Warrior One, Virabhadrasana One. Let's do the other side. So stand in your mountain. And we're on our parallel lines. You have to get used to this. Stepping the other foot, whatever leg you didn't do, step that foot back, turn the toes slightly out, and you'll see your hips are at a diagonal. Ground through the back leg, energize all the way up to the back glute, and then we're gonna turn just the rib cage and the shoulders forward. So there's almost a slight twist there. Arms lift up, and exhale, bend the front knee towards the center of your front foot. Keep that back foot grounded, so there's no leaning forward. You could lean a little bit forward if the low back was hurting, that might help. But if you can stay upright, shoulders above your hips, try that. Try all the other things that we've been doing to see about the low back. Keep that back leg strong. Press through the outer back heel, that's hard. If it's still just, doesn't feeling good, maybe point the tailbone down. Maybe don't bend the knee so much in the front leg, or maybe bend it more. There's so many options. Okay, release the arms and step forward. Okay, so we'll do the baby dancer pose next. This is where you might want to go towards a wall or have a chair or something that you can touch for a little bit of balance. Some of you may also use a strap. So baby dancer pose starts holding onto something. Decide which leg is going to be a standing leg. This is a balance pose. I'm going to use the deck railing, and then shift towards your standing leg, strong in that standing leg. And the opposite foot gets lighter, and use the strength of the hamstring to bring the back heel up towards the buttock, and then see, are your arms long enough to find your foot? And if they're not, you can use the support. So you wrap it around the ankle or the foot in some way. It takes just a little bit of practice to use that, but it will lengthen the arm if you can't reach. So wherever you are, you're going to point your knee straight down. You're going to roll whatever hand is holding the foot or the strap. Roll that shoulder back, squeeze that shoulder blade towards the spine and glue it onto your rib cage there. Breathing here, getting a nice stretch in the quads. You also are developing the strength in your standing leg. There's a lot of good things in this pose, the baby dancer pose. And then let's release. So I'm going to come just to face you, but you can stay with your support. If you choose to do this without any support, you have to find a focal point. So find somewhere you're looking. And now we're going to switch the foot. So now ground through your opposite leg. Start letting the other foot get a little lighter. And then see, can you use the strength of the hamstring to bring your foot up, and can your hand touch it? And if it can't, grab that strap on this side. One side might be different. Whatever arm is holding onto the foot, that shoulder rolls back. And really try to glue it onto the back rib cage. There's an important muscle there that pulls the shoulder blade onto your back body. Front knee points down. So you're getting a stretch through the quad. You're strengthening your legs. And you're practicing balance and focus. It's fine to come in and out. If you're doing this as a full balance, the big toe mound is an important compass point for you. Pressing into that big toe mound. Okay, let's release. Shake things out. Okay, so we'll go back to the wall or any support that you have, whether that's a chair, a sofa, a bed, anything. We'll do a forward bend. This is the pyramid pose. So as you stand in mountain pose, we keep coming back to mountain pose. So keep practicing mountain pose. It's an important one. Feet hip distance, kneecaps pointed forward. You will be bending at the hips and folding forward a little bit. So you'll have to just, negotiate with the wall as you do this. We're on the same railroad ties like warrior one. And this time, step 1 foot back, turn the feet out just like warrior one, but don't step as far back. Really wide feet. So I'm going to step my feet wider. This time we're going to turn the hips and the whole torso towards whatever you're facing, towards the wall or the chair. Or if you're not doing this with any support, facing forward. Ground through the back leg, strong legs. You can imagine inner thighs hug in towards midline. Things are coming in towards your midline. Inhale, lift up, and then bend at the front hip crease. You can bend the front knee and hold on to something. So hands can be on the wall, your fingertips could be on the wall. I've got my hands on the deck. So stretching out some interesting muscles in the back of the front leg, again, in a different orientation than the big toe pose. Finding your breath. Step into those feet, strong legs, strong quadriceps. So front of the kneecaps can lift up. You can engage the front thigh. Sometimes that helps to release the back body. And then let's come out, step forward, and we'll do the other side. Mountain pose, step the opposite foot back, turn the toes out, be really wide in the feet, turn to face forward, ground through both feet, pull your thighs towards each other, pull everything in, inhale, tall spine, bend at the front hip, and touch something. If my hands are on the wall, I could have my hands flat or be on fingertips. So keep pulling that front hip back a little bit. You could look under you and make sure you've got some leveling out. Both of the legs are straight and strong. Feeling both feet, still hugging the inner thighs together, still having some engagement in the front thighs. And then find your breath in and out through the nose. Okay, let's come on out of that pose. All right, so all the rest of the poses, we're gonna get low. We'll do the downward dog on their mat, but I'll show you how you could do it at a wall. And then we'll do a bunch of gentle back bends and then cool down. So down dog at a wall, if you don't wanna do it, if your wrists are tired or something about the down dog doesn't work for you, then you'll see me doing it on the railing. You could do this like on a kitchen counter at your kitchen sink is a fabulous way to do this. You put your hands on your surface or on the wall or fingertips on the wall. Step back a little bit. Again, you have to negotiate this. Feet are wide. Bend at the hips, shoot the hips back, and release your head in between your upper arms. Because I'm doing this on a railing, I can actually sort of grab on with my fingertips and let the hips really push back, and I get a good stretch through my whole shoulder. Okay, so that's an example of like a wall dog. If you want to do regular down dog, come on down to hands and knees and get your grounding in tabletop. Grounding through your fingertips, your finger pads, especially the L of the fingers. I can see the colors change in my fingertips when I press in. Just kind of overdo that so you can feel it. You want to keep that. For some bodies, a half step forward of the shoulders with your hands is helpful. If you are tighter or if you have a taller body, you can explore and experiment with that. So your feet, your knees are hip distance, you curl your back toes under, and you start to move the hips back like you're going to go into a child's pose, but then you pop the knees up, lift the hips up, keep the knees as bent as you need to, keep pushing into the hands. The key part here is find the index root, find the root of your thumb pad, and push into those parts. Keep letting the hips shift back. Some of you will be up on toes, some of you will straighten legs, some of you won't. You can pedal things out, bending one knee straight forward and drop the opposite heel down. Go a little bit back and forth. Keep pressing into the hands though to get those hips back. And come on down. We're gonna come all the way down to your bellies. Locust pose. So come down. Put your arms to your side with your hands next to your hips. I like to have my palms face down and the tops of my hands face up. Widen your legs. Engage your glutes. Lift your shoulders away from the mat. You can keep the hands on the mat if you want, or on an inhale, we're going to lift everything. Lift the legs, lift the arms, keep the shoulder blades squeezed in towards midline. Press the shoulders down the back. Look down your nose. This is a hard one. Working on the strength, so don't overdo this. You can come out or you can hold for another breath. But if you're in some pain, I wouldn't hold for more than a breath and then come down. Take a breath. The next gentle back bend is cobra pose. So walking your hands down the mat. Put your hands under your shoulders or even a little lower. Elbows point straight up. Now we need to pay attention to the feet even more. Ground through all 10 toes. Try to have the center of the foot making contact and not just the big toe, the front of the big toe. So you want the kind of the center of the foot making contact. Engage your legs. Give a nice squeeze in the glutes. Lift the shoulders away from the mat, and then on an inhale, lift the heart away from the navel, lifting it forward and up, and pull the hands down the mat slightly. So you're pulling your hands down without moving the hands. It's isometric movement. You might even feel yourself move up the mat just a little bit. Strong legs still. You might need to pull the low belly in a little bit. Don't go too high, so you shouldn't have your arms straight. You should be able to lift your hands. That's how low you are. And then we'll come all the way back down, take a break. And we'll come into child's pose. So here, child's pose, you might need a blanket. Some people put a blanket under their knees. Some people put a blanket in between the thighs and the calves. And some people just, the knees and hips aren't going to allow for this pose. And you'll flip onto your back and hug your knees in. So this would be knees under, blanket under knees. And when I put the blanket under my knees, I have my feet off of the blanket. Right, so the feet are on the mat and the front of the ankles are on the edge of the blanket. And that feels really nice for my feet. I like to have my thighs supporting my ribs. Some people go really wide and they need to do that and go wide, so you can explore where you're going to put your thighs. If they can support your ribs, I think you get a little bit more of a rounding, and we are going for that nice stretch in the low back here. Okay, so come down to child's with your arms forward. Forehead on the mat, or forehead can be on a pillow or on some kind of other support. And let the tailbone start to feel heavier, heavier. And let your head be pretty heavy too, feeling the forehead on the mat or on its surface. So opposite sides of the spine, grounding in opposite directions, allowing a nice big C curve in your back. A nice puffing of the back body. You can increase the puff if you take a breath into the back body. So breathe into the nose and see, can you feel like you expand in the back body a little bit? Okay. Walk your hands back until they're underneath your shoulders. Push yourself up and we'll get into cool down. So if you would roll over, we're going to flip this child's pose onto the back. For the blanket, if you have a blanket, you can fold it. It's going to go underneath our chest in a minute, underneath the back chest. So fold it so it looks something like this, or you can roll up a blanket and have it look like this, or you could have some kind of pillow. But for now, just have it to the side. So flip over, come into where we started, knees in. So bend your knees, and then either one knee comes in or both knees come in, hold. Maybe give yourself a big hug, give yourself some love, especially give the back, the teacher, whatever body part is talking to you. When you pay attention to it, it really reacts and responds like a little child that is having some kind of meltdown. And often if you just give it some loving attention, it's amazing how much it will calm, the child will calm, and same with your body. Using breath and awareness to relax, release. And we'll come into some twists like we did at the beginning, stepping your feet down, arms to your side, palms up or down. And then let the knees drop over to one side, maybe the head turns away and back up. Choosing if you would like to have specific breath, I would exhale as the knees drop away and inhale as they come back up, or you can absolutely hold if it's feeling good. Gentle twisting can be really nice. It can relieve a lot of tension that we experience in the body. The feet on the floor and knees dropping over targets this twist into that low back area more than the upper back, which is what we're looking for. All right, so if you remember which side you did first, go the opposite side and come on back. 2 final poses. You would grab your blanket. I'm going to roll up so I can show you. This is a supported back bend, optional. So something will go crosswise on your mat, horizontally on your mat. It shouldn't be a very high lift, but something that's a little bit higher than your mat, than the floor. And then I like to come in just lying down on my side so that I see that my arm is above the blanket, but not too far. So you don't want the blanket way down. Don't have it down in your low back, okay? You want it in the upper back, right underneath your shoulder blades. And then you can just open up. So let those shoulder blades kind of snuggle in. They can be on the blanket. The shoulders don't have to touch the floor behind you, but they're kind of rolling towards the floor behind you. If you need a small support for your head, you could put something on your head. And then your arms are out at shoulder height. Instead of up on the blankets, they should be above the blanket. Palms faced up. Knees definitely bent to let there be some stretch in the low back, but this is a back bend, so there's not a whole lot of stretching going on in the low back. We're opening up the front. Find your breath. A few more breaths, really trying to relax. We're in cool down now. So paying attention to your breath, paying attention to places where you can let go, any tension in your neck or jaw or arms. Always tuning in to your teacher, doing things that work better for you. So if you need to come off the blanket, you would do that. If not, 1 or 2 more breaths. All right, so let's roll over to the side, remove the blanket. If you have a couple pillows or blocks or something, you could use these to support your hips as we go into lying down cobbler's pose, Supta Baddha Konasana, or lying down butterfly. So the soles of the feet come together, knees are bent, and you let those legs drop away from each other. If you had some kind of support, I have a couple of blocks. This is very nice to be able to support. You really will be able to probably relax more if you can support the thighs. And I have my blocks on medium height and I tilt them in, but it depends on your body. You can move them up the body or down. Deep sense of well-being and relaxation here. If this pose isn't working for you, we're about to go into Shavasana, so you can come into your Shavasana. Feeling that breath as it changes the shape of your torso. So you might feel it in the belly, you might even feel it in the inner thighs or groin area. Since we're in the cool down phase, we'll hold this for several more breaths. You could do Shavasana in this pose, or you can release the props and bring your knees together, keep the feet on the ground, knees bent if you want. You could straighten legs. You could even put your legs up on something. Just take a moment or two in a final relaxation. So settling in, taking a moment to appreciate the work you've done today. If you've practiced along with this whole video, take a moment to feel really proud of that. Know how much you have really helped all the different layers of the self. And bringing your loving kindness awareness to the low back. Loving friendliness to the back body. Self-steady, does it feel any different? No right answers. Is it better, worse, or the same? Maybe you're not sure. Sometimes in this pose, I step my feet wide, kick my heels out, and let my knees drop in. Some bodies this works well for. Noticing if there's tension or holding anywhere else in the body. Let your expression just slide off your face. Relax your jaw and your eyes. Relax your neck and throat, your shoulders. Good soft body now. Soft back body, soft front body. Relaxed arms and legs. Moment of a deep sense of well-being in this moment. You are welcome to stay here for as long as you want, maybe 5 more minutes or a few more minutes, or if you would like to come up, we'll roll over to your side. Come on up. Sit up nice and tall in any way that feels good for you. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.